They are embarrassed. You didn't embarrass them. They are embarrassed by the sheer number of people that is taken to attack you. They didn't plan for this. They had no idea that you were a one-man army. They had no idea how coherent you were, how cognitive you were, how instinctive you were, how natural you were, how gifted you were, how aware you were, how knowledgeable you were, how spiritual you were, how strong you were, how enduring you were. They had no idea. They underestimated you to the 5th power, times 10. But I can guarantee you, if they had a chance to do it all over, they wouldn't do it again.
New Star Radio, 98.7 FM. Yeah, good. So a bit of motivational there, getting my words out there, getting excited really. Right, good. So this is going to be an interesting. Oh, just to skirt through geopolitics. So Musk and Trump are having a to and fro, a lovers' tiff, you know, with nuclear weapons, of course, and CIA mischief in Syria. And, you know, ISIS is in control of Syria now. A place I visited in 96. 96. Yeah, 96. And they've had a big lovers' tiff, you know. Musk is saying that Trump is in the Epstein documents and so on and so forth. And Trump is saying, oh, he's just bitter. He's just a bitter ex-employee and all, you know, the usual capitalistic guff. And, you know, isn't it fascinating? And then you've got the likes of Kanye and Joe Rogan talking about how, you know, this is bad for America. Oh, please make up. You're making us look bad because, as I said, I always relate this to Sunni Shia polemics, if you will, and which will be the main thrust of this particular broadcast. You know, Sunni Shia, because you've got a choice for those who are not in the know. You've got Sunni Islam, which is the Saqifa, Abu Bakr, Umar, Aisha, may Allah curse them, axis. Other scholarly opinions are available, of course, I have to say that, Ofcom rules. And then you have the Shia of Ali, who is Allah's caliph, who Allah ordered the Prophet, peace be upon him, I believe the reference, Quran 5:26, the completion of the religion. And Ali was the Mawla, is the successor. Whereas Abu Bakr and Umar and Aisha disobeyed the Prophet, disobeyed Allah, angered the Prophet, called the Prophet delirious, fought the Prophet's cousin, Ali, and just using akal, intelligence, free choice. Allah gives every human being free choice. And then you have the bullying and the Satanism of oppression of Ahlul Bayt. The Prophet left 2 weighty things: his Itra, Ahlul Bayt, his family, and the Quran. And then we get into, let's fast forward. In fact, let's get into the crux of it really. Then we get into the actual satanic mess that we're in, where we've got Sunni MPs and members of the military and the police force, business sector, of course, Pakistani, mainly of origin, Indian subcontinent, if you will, and, you know, Iranian, Yemeni, Arabs, and, you know, the whole kit and caboodle. Barristers, King's Council, if you will. And they're looking, and the councillors are looking to implement blasphemy laws with the pretext that people are burning. I've burnt Qurans. I burnt them at Pir Siddiqi's masjid 6 ways. Respectfully, you know, the kids had graffitied in them, they'd drawn penises and all that kind of stuff in the Qurans. They're just young children, of course. And the Pir Siddiqi, no longer with us, of course. We needed to dispose of these torn and mutilated Qurans, if you want to use that nomenclature. And Sufi Saab and Haji Saab and myself, we burnt the Quran. That, you know, is the cleanest, best way to dispose of them, rather than them being thrown in the mutual trash with, you know, pornographic magazines and I guess, and detritus of such human detritus. And there's always context to things, isn't there? You know, there's always like why, how. It's the intention in Islamic, and this is what I learned when I was a Sunni, of course. Allah only judges based on intention, on niyyah, on the niyyah, what is intended. And only obviously Allah can see that, and it's manifest in the actions. So the action of actually burning the Quran per se is dependent upon the intention. So anyway, the blasphemy laws really, and this is what I postulate, this is my thesis, if you will. And this is one for the records. I mean, I am recording it, and I'm going to make sure I press stop before, when I, you know, so I don't lose it, because I really do want to just place this on record for future reference. So, InshaAllah, the application, the pending world records and association with, bearing in mind Simon Cowell, you know, has given permission for his name to be associated with mine, which is wonderful, of course, but, you know, I throw dust in his face. You know, I'm not beholden to Simon Cowell. I'm not a fan of his. He's supporting a particular streaming service. I think it's useful for the work, the scientific, as a BCU researcher, independent, no degree, of course. And I've had an association since Peribar, UCE, 1996. So from this scientific research work that we're doing, there's sort of like a mutual coming together where we can work together, and it's in that spirit that I'm working together. But anyway, not to digress. So you have this attempt at blasphemy laws, but it's Sunni blasphemy laws. Let me repeat that again: Sunni blasphemy laws. It's not Shia blasphemy laws. And ultimately, what Aston Walker is postulating is that really it's just a satanic, devilish, Bani Umayyah continuation of the Prophet being on his deathbed, peace be upon him, to stop Shia Islam, love for Ahlul Bayt. That's what Baroness, whatever her name is, or King's Council, such and such, MP, Councillor, such and such. That's the real reason behind it. That's the source. On the Day of Judgment, in your grave, on Yom Qiyamah, that's what it's going to boil down to. It's not going to be anything else. Your blasphemy, because the biggest blasphemers, of course, are Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Aisha, Hafsa, Khalid bin Walid. They're the biggest blasphemers. Other opinions are available for those who want to kill me and stab me and beat me up and attack me and so on and so forth. You know, victory and success is in the grave. That's why I named my film Victory is in the Grave. Yeah, because as I said, you know, I was abused as a child, 8 years of age, by Brenda Miller and Dr. John Fowler, PhD, husband of Annette Miller, my other aunt. May Allah curse them. You know, I'm never going to really get over it, of course, but it's family. But so I always relate my struggle, my experience, to Ahlul Bayt. That's where I derive my strength. You know, through their suffering, they suffered far worse than what I suffered, and it's in that context that all right, that'll be me, yeah. Oh, sorry. So that'll be Josh, yeah. So just bear with me. Let me give you some music, yeah, and I'm back after this. I lost my train of thought there. Good thing I had the phone on, yeah? So anyway, just to recap, Yeah. So we have Sunni Muslims, attempting to legislate with these satanic actions of racist actions, if you will. Have to get that on record. Balance and objectivity, of course. Blaspheming, according to the Sunni right, if you will. So, because obviously, clearly the biggest blasphemy is Umar calling the Prophet delirious, Sahih Bukhari. Umar, Uthman, Abu Bakr fleeing the battlefield, Uhud, Khandak, Khaybar, blasphemy. Sahbihi, when the Salafi, Sunni, Kufar debate, Bidah, innovation, blasphemy. So, you know, the whole blasphemy argument, it behoves the Sunni, Baroness this, whatever, MP this, they've got to shut down any debate or any scholarly academic reflection on Ahlul Bayt, the metaphysics, the Aqidah, the fiqh. Because when it comes to the Jafari school, it's the separation between Batil and Haq is just clear. You can't mix the two. And Sunni Islam, in my humble opinion, is nothing more than Dajjal, Arab colonizer, satanic, taghut, nifaq, kufr, artificial intelligence. That's going to be the name of my next paper, by the way, based on this particular broadcast. So there you have it, yeah? So let me leave you with some more tunage. In fact, I don't want to play any tunage yet because it's going to mess up with my algorithm when I put this on when I put it on online. So we've got to be careful of that, yeah? Good stuff. So let me find something for you. Full Esteem. This one's a really good one. I think you'll enjoy this one. You're definitely going to enjoy this one. There you go.
Black Africans and Black Caribbeans are closer, almost identical. They have high, and I'm generalizing now, but generalization is pretty accurate. They have high self-esteem and lower levels of confidence. Black Americans have higher levels of confidence and lower levels of self-esteem. Because of slavery lasted here longer, it was turned into a business, and it was an intentional desire to destroy your spirit, because if they had this black man here, coming here with all that build and all that brawn from, by the way, they say they went to Africa, oh, we're dumb, we're stupid. Knock that off. 1500s was an agricultural age. The wealthiest gold in America, in the world, were cotton crops and sugar crops and tobacco crops, which are in areas which were very humid, very hot, and the soil was almost dead. Who could master dead soil? Africans. So they went halfway around the world to find the geniuses of the soil. They brought us halfway around the world because we could build wealth for them and income. But they didn't need this brother's attitude. They needed his body. So they separated from his family, so he had no hope. They abused his wife and held him down so he couldn't protect her until he gave up his self-esteem. Now he's just machinery. So now, 400 years later, we never healed. So if I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, I'm not going to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm going to make your life a living hell. Whatever goes around, comes around. So we have high confidence, Jerome, because we've competed and succeeded against all odds in the biggest economy on the planet. So we have high confidence because we're competent, but we have low self-esteem, which is why you have crab in the barrel. It's why somebody's sitting there going, what is he talking about? My life. Why would anybody have anything with something positive to say right now? So if you got a problem with me, you need to check yourself. I don't even know you. So, as Quincy Jones once said, not 1 ounce of my self-esteem depends on your acceptance of me. So it's okay if you don't like me, I like me. Now, black African, y'all, come on now, we having church in here. Now, black Africans and Caribbeans experience slavery lower for a shorter period of time, and they experience family structure and role modeling for a longer period of time. The mayor was black. The governor was black. The premier was black. The dentist was black. The barber was black. The thief was black. Everybody was black. Together families. So they have higher self-esteem, but they have lower confidence because they didn't succeed in a market economy. It makes perfect sense. So that's why when black Africans or Caribbeans come here, within 2 or 3 years, they're killing it. Yet the Ethiopians in Washington, D.C., they're at the Park Hyatt parking the cars. Within a couple of days, they've hired the buddies to be valets. Within a few weeks, they're also the taxi drivers. Within a couple months, they put the money in for an Uber car. Now they got a black car. Now they got 3 black cars. Now they live together. Now they have their entire staff in the front of the lobby. They have the valets. They got the taxi. They got the Ubers. They're willing to rent you an apartment if you want one. I mean, but that's because the hustle was the only ingredient that they missed. The opportunity. Black people, black Americans are the role models for the world. But we've got a little bit confused because we think that's enough. We're also depressed. I think that 70% of black Americans clinically undiagnosed depressed. And I can't prove that number. I love number. I can't prove that one. Whenever I talk to somebody, our people in a real conversation, can I get an amen? So when we're having a real conversation, we just have to heal so we can deal. Now, if we can heal, which is real wealth, and heal ourselves and love ourselves, now we can have a relationship. Now, in a relationship, it's the only time where it should be multiplication and not math. So if a relationship, if 2 + 2 does not equal 6, 8, or 10, what are you doing? If you're not better together, what are you doing? When you go to the club tonight, what's tonight? Tonight's Saturday. When you go to the club tonight, what's tonight? Friday. Entrepreneurs, we work 18 hours. They keep getting a job. We can work 18 hours and 6, and we have a nap for 3 hours. For 6 hours, that's it. So yeah, I don't know what day it is. You go to the club tonight. Oh man, she's fine. Oh, he's so handsome. What's your name? Oh, what's your credit score? And I'm only partially joking. After the looks fall away and the body falls away, that's your business partner for life. 2 + 2 should equal 6, 8, or 10. If you're not better together, what are you doing? So this thing we're talking about is self-esteem is the entire ball game. If we can't fix this, we're done. No one else can hurt us. We'll hurt us. If we can fix this, I believe we will and we are.
New Star Radio 98.7 FM, and you're tuned in to the Obsidian Reflector. Yes, the scrying mirror of one John W., if you will. Alchemists. Sir Isaac Newton, also recently, I believe in the last few years, was an alchemist. Amazing. Right, we're joined by the wonderful Josh. He's blessed us with his presence. How are you, Josh?
I'm feeling wonderful today.
Feeling wonderful.
Sir Aston.
Sir Aston. Oh, interesting. So, how's your week been? How you been? What you been up to? Anything interesting you wish to share with the audience?
So yeah, I was back down at Civic Square again this week, learning about biodyes.
Biodyes?
Yeah.
What's a biodye?
So it's a dye that's made from like organic material.
Organics?
Yeah. So
cool.
like skim milk and stuff like that.
And how did that go? Do you care to share any of the processes?
So I'm hopefully going to be dropping something on my little podcast that I do sometimes, the informative one, Big Positivity FM.
What's that? Positivity FM?
Big Positivity FM.
Big Positivity.
So that's on Spotify and YouTube.
Okay.
So what we're going to be doing is talking to the Henna. We'll be speaking to Henna, the lady from Birmingham who kind of authored the process, or is kind of like, or who's instructing us on how to do it. Yeah, because it's something that's quite interesting, and I think it's going to be quite valuable as the years go on.
I think so. Wonderful. Right, so to continue the theme of Sunni Shia polemics and Satanism. So this idea of blasphemy and blasphemy laws in Britain through the back door via the process of the hegemonic, dominant Sunni, may Allah curse the Sunni madhab, curse Abu Bakr and Umar and Aisha. Other views are available, of course. We have to say that, balance enough. Because ultimately, the greatest blasphemy is the antagonism, murder, oppression, suppression, if you will, of the Shia Jafari school. And that is, in my humble opinion, is what this is all about. And what I offer as proof is the rulers of Syria, may Allah curse them as well. A lot of cursing today. Due to their Sunni, satanic, Salafi murder of Shia people, which is well documented, BBC, etc., etc. So there you go. So that's the basis for that we postulate here. And again, with the artificial intelligence, I had a wonderful conversation with my friend. I got to big her up actually, because she doesn't really want to big herself up. So she had a record deal at the age of 16, MCA, Rough Justice, Wooligan, famous for what's his name? Oh gosh, I've forgotten his name. Apache Indian, yeah. You know, so I was all part of that crew, you know, the 80s and so on and so forth. Anyway, she got a deal when she was 16, which is 1989, MCA Records. And MCA, I believe, I'm just doing the Google now. MCA Records, CBS, yeah. Oh, what's that noise?
Sorry about that.
All right. Well, I'm sure you're not. But MCA Records distributed in Europe, Asia, shifted to CBS in 1979, according to Wikipedia and Fandom. This arrangement lasted until releases in the 80s, which were handled through self-distribution or WEA. In the 1990s, distribution moved to BMG. So, again, the Diddy Jay-Z affair and current court case, and we've seen how, you know, shocking revelations, because obviously it's a RICO, right? So it's a mafia organised sort of transporting over state lines, prostitution, just awful. And the testimonies, the prosecution are making a wonderful case. They're doing an absolutely great job. But they're credit to the defence. They're obviously the best that money can buy. But, you know, obviously Diddy's guilty. I mean, it's just terrible. So...
Allegedly. We still got to let it play out.
That was Josh's contribution, by the way, not mine. But anyway, as I said, guilt, you know, just guilty, just a nasty, satanic, devilish, wicked, awful, this satanic black excellence, may Allah curse them, just horrible. So he's guilty. So he's going to prison for a long time.
Wait, black excellence is satanic?
Black excellence, according to Jay-Z and Diddy, is satanic. By definition, by their wicked satanic deeds. Therefore, it is satanic.
I mean, baby oil and domestic violence doesn't really paint a pentagram, does it?
Well, you know, because you're ill-informed and quite ignorant, the RICO case, as far as the elements, which is how RICO works, such as arson, Kid Cudi, proven, such as transporting for prostitution over state lines, the Punisher, proven. Dangling women over balconies on the 17th floor, proven. So you might want to not really interrupt if you're not fully briefed on the facts, Josh. Respectfully.
Okay.
Yeah, respectfully.
Okay, I see.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
So anyway, so the guilty Diddy and Jay-Z for their horrendous crimes. And recently, what's quite interesting is it's funnily enough, Black Excellence. The Rock Nation institution, let's call it institution, we were led to believe that the clout, the boss, the ruling elite of Rock Nation was one Mr. Sean Carter, Jay-Z. This is what we was led to believe. However, recent revelations, this is via MSN, Desiree Perez, the CEO of Rock Nation, she's the boss. She's the big kahuna. How do we know this? Because Rock Nation are now in a RICO charge, courtesy of Desiree Perez's daughter, for spying on her, placing instruments of observation, cameras, in her apartment, trying to separate her from her husband, who's a black man. And we have in the documents, in the actual documentation, where this Desiree Perez, CEO of a black hip-hop record company, media company, and sports as well, referring to her son-in-law as the N-word. So she's a racist as well. All very shocking.
She wasn't saying like my N-word. She was saying, look at that N-word over there, kind of thing.
She's just a racist.
Okay.
She's just a satanic, devilish racist.
Okay.
Who was pardoned by Trump. And this is the irony. The shocking thing is, she didn't raise her daughter. Her mother raised her daughter, her nan, if you will. So while she was gallivanting, snitching, and wearing a wire for the feds, snitching on the cartel, she didn't raise her daughter, and then has the audacity to not only racially abuse, allegedly, her daughter's husband, but then to proceed to use Rock Nation resources and clout and so on and so forth in a very corrupt way to make her life a hell, to the extent that she did 2 weeks sectioned under the Baker Act. That's an American act. I don't know too much about it, but I know that's how she was sectioned for 2 weeks. But obviously the young lady, her courage and her sophisticated intellect, she liberated herself in order to take her mother to court. So that's the state of affairs with Black Excellence or Black Satanism.
Wait a second. So she was a law-abiding citizen. She snitched on the cartel.
Who was a law-abiding citizen?
Desiree.
How can you be a law-abiding citizen getting caught with 35 kilograms of cocaine?
Because she was an informant, right? She was doing it as part of like her CIA roles or whatever.
No. That's not how it works, my friend. Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, I've been a drug dealer. Yeah? I've dealt drugs and so on and so forth. And been to prison. Stood before a court. Josh hasn't. Yeah. So that's not how it works, my friend.
Okay.
When one chooses to engage in criminal activity like wholesale drugs, like cocaine, when the pressure gets hot and the prospect of 20 years in jail,
it's a long time, isn't it?
It's a long time, isn't it? Yeah. What happens is, when the money's not coming through, if it's not doing what it's expectation, isn't it? The expectation.
Yeah.
You get caught, and then when you get caught and you face it like 20 years in prison, that's when the snitching begins. Okay? That's how Desiree turned Fed.
I mean, turned law-abiding citizen.
No, my friend. Look, Josh, please.
Because you were saying that
She
it's wrong to
engaged
to do
in
all of these
criminal
things.
activity, i.e., the importation
Yeah, so
of
you should be happy for her though.
cocaine.
You should be quite like, you should be like, oh my god, that is so good that she decided to turn maybe a new page. Obviously, if she's a vulnerable individual, the way I see her, she's
Go on.
like a superhero from the 80s. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, in the real world, where you know, like the CIA ran Contra regimes and stuff like that. So obviously, I don't know Desiree
Sorry.
personally.
Did you mention Iran Contra?
Yeah.
What do you know about Iran Contra?
So,
Josh?
Obviously, my knowledge is not like wholesome, is not like fully like. Do you know what I mean? I don't.
But
know
you
everything-
mentioned it, yeah. So
I don't know
please
everything
continue.
about it, but from what I remember,
Yeah, you don't know anything about
I
it.
know, I said I don't know everything about it.
Oh, okay,
but
go
from
on
What
then.
I remember, it's a lot to do with destabilizing governments to promote U.S. interests abroad.
All right, can I just stop you there?
Yes, please.
Let's give you a breakdown history of Iran Contra. So, the Reagan regime at the time, when you have when you are a president, the president has briefings from his various departments, economic, military, and so on and so forth, social. And if the president doesn't attend the briefing, if he doesn't master his brief, then dodgy stuff can occur. So in the case of Iran Contra, I'm trying to think of the name of, but it's not important. The main thing is weapons were being transferred through drug sales, you see, to the Iranian regime, who technically Khomeini and were at loggerheads, but because it's politics, really they're the best of buddies, yeah.
Yeah.
Expediency. It was expedient, yeah, if you like, or favours owed, and so on and so forth.
So she's had an impact in history.
Who's had an impact in history?
Just all of these people who are dark but light as well. Do you know what I mean? Good and bad.
You know, Josh,
Yes, that's.
what it is, you know, the ability to take very serious matters and then to invert them for the purpose of levity, otherwise known as satire, requires the satirist to have a full grasp of that which they are satirizing.
Okay.
Mere guffawing and kicking with very sparse or a very superficial understanding of the matter just makes you sound like an absolute idiot. And the
Okay.
fact that I'm recording this
Yeah.
is causing me second-hand embarrassment on your behalf, sir.
Oh, thank you, Aston.
Yeah,
I
second-hand
appreciate you looking
embarrassment.
out for
So,
me
yeah, okay, thank
as
you.
a junior.
No problem, sir. So, just to, you know, obviously I learnt from Seleni BAE Systems Henry and the other Groucho Club perverts, yeah? Satanists, yeah?
Of which you're a satirist.
Who?
You're a satirist.
Am I? Are you saying? Well, I don't know. I believe I'd rather leave that to others to
Okay.
discern.
Because the word satire is a nice word, isn't it? It comes from the Greek about like Mr. Tumnus types, right?
Again. You know, it on a black station, Afro-Caribbean Millennium Centre. And again, I've said this many times on different shows. I can't remember the name of the academic, but I only heard this about 2 months ago. It was most wonderful. So this may be most instructive, Josh. Rome and Greek are not civilizations. Europeans have never had a civilization, ever, because they're Neanderthal apes. The only civilizations are Sumerian and Egypt, because in order for you to have a civilization, one has to have a civil life. Yes, that means there has to be sewage and society and learning and culture. Whereas Rome and Greek were just war states
I know,
where
but-
there was filled with paedophilia and hedonistic, the most distant things from a civilized. So
Even-
to quote Greek, Latin as a sort of source of civilization or culture
That's it again.
is Satanism, stupidity, idiocy of the highest order, because they're not civilizations. They're just warring, Neanderthal,
whoring,
tribes
chasing
that are
ladyboys.
that are incomparable to such stellar civilizations such as the aforementioned Egypt, Black Kemet,
He's going to say Brixton next. Go on.
and Sumeria.
Same thing, really. Isn't it? But as you said, like we obviously like didn't speak Sumerian when we were saying satirical. Do you know what I mean? Like if the apes came up with satire, then surely that would make us a little bit to the left of them, maybe.
Right, we're going to dip into this is a great scholar. This is Sayyid Aman Naqshbandi. Yeah, let me just cue him up. Do him some justice. Yeah.
Even though they lived in the
Woo, dear.
and Ibn al-Qayyim,
He does shout a bit.
there is no Sunni speaker on this earth who is famous and known who can get away with finishing lectures unless they say Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah or Sheikh Ibn al-Qayyim. Ibn Taymiyyah is the most powerful name in the Sunni world today. Kids in America are going to Saturday and Sunday schools brought up on his love. I guarantee you, if I take you to a mosque in Mombasa today, let's go in the bookshop. If Ibn Taymiyyah's books aren't there, I'll give you what you want me to give you. Saudi Arabia publishes his books more than anyone else. The most important.
Yeah, an interesting case in point there. Ibn Taymiyyah, who was, I can't remember what century, but he was imprisoned in Damascus at the citadel. I actually visited it, not the actual cell, but you know, I know where it is. And you know, when I was a Salafi at Green Lane Salafi Sunni, and this was rammed down our throats, Ibn Taymiyyah, Shaykh al-Islam. And then when you actually study the actual sort of like history, and you know, he's just the total opposite, really. You know what I mean? It's like he's just a fringe character. And this is what it is. My postulate, my thesis, if you will, that Sunni Islam is artificial intelligence. It's much like Elizabethan, sort of like John 007D and Shakespeare. These things are all artificial intelligence. They're devoid of any soul. They're the most ungodly, satanic, off-world brainwashing, if you will, that turns the sort of like those that imbibe such things into the most moronic buffoons who just spout absolute crap, like Seleni BAE Systems Henry, for example, a great example of this buffoonery, of this stupidity. I mean, the man's a fool. I mean, literally a fool, a court jester. You know, he's been ennobled with a knighthood. You know, so that stupidity, that level of ignorance really betrays the artificial nature and satanic nature in opposition to that which is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that which is from the Ahlul Bayt and the prophets, going back to Prophet Ibrahim, of course. Babylonian, there's your Sumerian connection there for the more astute listener. And the making of idols and this person, whether it's royalty or Sunni Islam, Abu Bakr, Umar, or Shakespeare, or this canon, or Roman, Latin, this, blah, blah, blah. these sort of false satanic idols renders the host such a babbling moron, such a, especially I'm only speaking for black people here, Afro-Nazi, if you will. Such a arrogant, and the arrogance as well, I find quite shocking. To think that they can douse.
To think that other people might believe in themselves and have viewpoints and perceive themselves as equally righteous as the black corpus is Afro-Nazism. I just think it's just being human in 2025. To be honest, we're all of us, white, black, whatever. We're all of us human. Do you know what I mean? And whether that's a satanic rendering or rendering by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself, it's not for us to decide, I don't think.
So in looking at humanity and what defines a human being, or the genus Homo sapien, let us refer to science and mitochondrial DNA. So the definition of a human being can be traced through the mitochondrial DNA. So we have within the DNA double helix structure the common thread of humanity, to reinforce Josh's postulate. The connection between us all is mitochondrial Eve, mitochondrial Adam, which unifies the European to the African to the so on and so forth.
Wait, and who invented mitochondria?
So just to continue without the interruption, I'll edit that out. So the mitochondrial DNA that reinforces our common humanity. We have in the Quran the actual rendering of reality, not artificial intelligence like devils like Darwin and others.
Actually, wait, quick question.
No, sir, not while I'm talking, while I'm broadcasting. No, let me finish my point.
Okay.
Thank you. So the mitochondrial DNA connects us all. It's the thread that connects us all. Then we know that the Yoruba and the Khoisan, traditionally called Pygmies, the click language, you know, that is the click language, South Africa. And they've got like they call it Chinese eyes, but the Chinese have African eyes.
Okay.
It's the eyes of the Khoisan.
Okay.
So the Khoisan, the Yoruba, do not have any Neanderthal DNA. They're Neanderthal free. So they're true humans. So in the Quran, we have Adam, peace be upon him, who was made from the elements of the earth and constructed in the heavens. So that was Adam. So the only analogue, the only proof and evidence we have of a pure human is the Khoisan and the Yoruba tribe. Good. The northern apes, known as Neanderthals, Europeans, Caucasians or Aryans or Persians, those are apes, chimpanzees, who have intermixed with true humans, and that is how they have come about. Allah only judges the human being based on the contents of his heart. So the heart is where the judgment in the grave hereafter takes place. However, we have now defined what a human being is. We have now understood the origins of the Caucasians, the Aryans, that are separate from the true humans, and we've deduced this and understood this through mitochondrial DNA. Over to you, Josh.
So I had a question that's kind of related to what we were discussing, but a little bit also not. Basically, I wanted to know how would you reconcile big word there. The debate between obviously the burning of the Quran thing and the not burn. Like, do you feel like we are returning to the past with the need? With is there a blasphemy law? Should Qurans be not burnt? Is it okay to burn the Quran as a Christian Muslim? Is it okay to burn a Bible? How does God feel about these situations? What do you think about these things? If I'm allowed to ask in this moment.
An excellent question. One that we, for those who listen to this recording, will be astute enough to know that this is a subject that I spoke about earlier. But I'll repeat it again just for Josh's sake. Yeah,
Apologies. Yeah.
it's all right, Josh. These things are divine. Allah has ordained that we have this and record this for posterity. Burning of Qurans. I myself have burnt Qurans. 6 Ways Aston.
Okay.
2000 and it must have been about 2008.
This is why I find you so amazing. Do you know what I mean? 'Cause it's like,
So
you
I
did
was
it all first.
so I was burning Qurans under the guidance of Pir Siddiqui
Okay.
at 6 Ways Mosque.
Yeah.
Myself and Sufi Saab, who was a committee member, he's younger than me, lovely man, and Haji Saab, older than us, boxer, lovely man. And the children had drawn penises and graffitied the Qurans and ripped the pages. And the Pir, in his wisdom, a very wise man, no longer with us, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, the return of all is to Allah. We were tasked with burning Qurans to dispose of them, because he didn't want them thrown into landfill with pornographic magazines and other detritus materials and so on and so forth. So our job was to burn these Qurans to dispose of them. Good. So when I was relaying this,
Forbidden.
what's forbidden, sir?
Oh, just the burning thing. You shouldn't.
It's forbidden, but sir, qualify forbidden. Who? By what law did you have to now present the Arabic and the English translation where the Prophet forbade burning of Qurans, which I know you can't do, yeah?
It exists. To my knowledge.
Well,
my
no such thing exists, sir, respectfully.
But it could be perceived as blasphemy.
You can perceive a Mercedes-Benz as blasphemy. You can perceive a fart as blasphemy. I mean, stop right there. I'm a scientist. You're a scientist. Let's try and keep it academic. So there is no such legislation forbidding burning of Qurans. That's the first thing. Good. So we've cleared that up. Secondly, Allah judges based on intention, known as the niyyah, to use the Arabic. It's the intention. So man does an action, amal, or work. Allah judges the intention, the inner. You know what I mean? That inner kind of like, why did you do that? What was the reason? Brilliant. So that's legislated in the Quran, in the Hadiths.
Have converged for a rare opportune moment.
Well, no. Your ignorance has been exposed.
Oh.
Yeah. My knowledge, correction. Okay, thank you.
All praise.
All praise to Allah, yeah. Okay. So there you go. So burning of Qurans depends on the intention. What is intended? Why are you burning the Quran? Yeah?
Yeah.
It's the niyyah. Good. So in totality, the irony is the sort of Satan is whooping and hollering, oh, kill, has no weight, because only Allah knows what was intended.
I like how you described the angry Muslim mobs as Satanists.
Of course, well, that's what they are. Because anger is from Satan. It's satanic, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So,
but some would think it's righteous.
Well,
indignation.
some can think what they like. Some people think Hitler thought what he liked. Tony Blair thought what he liked. I mean, stop it. I mean, what lunatic Neanderthal, ape, chimpanzee, Caucasians do, Europeans do. 20 million killed in Belgian Congo. I mean, Namibia, German, even I found out the other day, through my research into the author of the Dollhouse, you know, even Norway had a colonial. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, again, this is the problem of Latin and Greek and Roman. If you have the audacity or the caucasity to submit in the arena of discourse that Rome or Greek was a civilization, then, you know, you're a fool. You're an absolute idiot. It's like quoting Shakespeare.
Well,
You're interrupting again.
Sorry.
It's like quoting Shakespeare to advance your...
But I'm interrupting.
You're interrupting again. Please don't, bruv. Else I'll lock off your mic, mate, yeah? It's like advancing or talking about Shakespeare and then making the bold claim to any sort of intellectual... No. Shakespeare's a dummy. His canon is stupid, satanic. It's just Elizabethan propaganda, courtesy of John 0070. End of conversation. And to use some Latin, QED. Over to you, Josh.
Yeah, so the reason that I was interrupting Aston, as you so astutely shouted me down about my ignorance, was because on the last episode, I in fact did quote Shakespeare. So obviously, to a man being called a fool, a man must protest. Hope that wasn't too Elizabethan for you.
Well, I mean, ultimately, and this is the beauty of Allah giving human beings free will. You can do what the hell you want. Yeah, I don't control Josh's actions. You know, you do as you please, my friend. Yeah,
you know what I mean, thankfully so.
You do. Well, there you go. And likewise, I do as I please, and I speak as I please. I say what I want to say.
Yeah.
And you say whatever you want to say.
But okay, do you take accountability as well?
Accountability, mate. I went to prison for stealing £200 worth of clothes at H&M, mate.
I mean, judgment is not the same as accountability.
It's accountability, my friend. I was held accountable by Judge Melbourne Imban, mate. Yeah, accountability for stealing.
I mean, you got caught, but that was
I got caught, mate. But I've been a thief before. It wasn't the first time I've stolen.
I think being accountable in that situation is saying I'm not going to steal clothes because there's better ways to survive.
Absolutely. That's what a prison sentence for, mate.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm pleading guilty. Yeah.
Okay.
I pled guilty, mate. Yeah.
So my bad.
Well, you're ignorant again. It's just all it is, Josh. If you're ignorant, if you don't know stuff, go and learn it, yeah? Have the humility to listen and learn stuff. Mm-hmm. The reason why I'm so relevant, the reason why I'm the boss of BCU, is because I like to listen and learn.
Allegedly.
I'm going to give him that one. I opened myself up for that one. So that was well deserved, yeah? That was well deserved. Good. And we've recorded it as well, yeah? So that's on record, Josh.
Nice, thank you.
That fine retort.
Yeah.
There. He's brimming, he's positively glowing with that one. His head is swelling, he's filling up the entirety of the New Star Radio. He's so happy that he got that one in.
He's come as Yoda today.
I'm really proud of him. That was a really good one. You know what I mean? This is his Goldsmith graduation. Lenny Henry and
what can I say? I've been getting back to my roots.
The councillor, the chancellor of BC, whoever he is, and they'll be like, "Oh, you did a good one there, Josh. That's a great one. You really got that bastard Aston. Oh, very good there." It's after 9 o'clock now because I have a certain amount of latitude. They were, Birmingham City Council. That was a brilliant one there, Josh. You really got him there. Brilliant, and he's recorded as well. Great. I'll be wanking over that one. They'll be having wonderful. So there you go, Sir Lenny Henry, yeah? Hamza Yusuf and...
I don't know, why do you keep calling him Bay?
Who? Calling who?
Lenny. Why do you keep calling him... Because you keep saying Lenny Bay, like B-A-E, Bay? Is that like a old school, how guys spoke to guys in the 80s kind of thing? Or?
Now, let us really focus on Josh's facetiousness here. Because he really is a feisty young man. Yeah, and what I always find interesting, how hubris works. So off the back of his allegedly and his greatness, now he's going to defeat himself. Now he's going to really embarrass himself and embarrass Lenny Henry. If he can embarrass Lenny Henry, okay, good. So in 2013, Comic Relief, through an investigation by the BBC, found that Comic Relief funds, which were raised from the public,
Yeah.
which I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah, I've heard of the public.
That's right. And the funds that they use, him and Curtis, I believe, who wrote Notting Hill, another devil, may Allah curse him as well. And Blackadder, I think he wrote Blackadder as well. So these idiots, these morons, took public money. These morons took public money and invested it in tobacco, alcohol, and BAE Systems, which is a British weapons company.
So they got money and they bought weed, liquor, and
You know something? I take it back. You know, he's on absolute rare form tonight. Wow! I doff my cap to you, sir. You.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak. Oh yes, thank you. Jazakallah khair. Wow, Josh is on rare form. Yeah, that was a great summing up, sir. Yeah, that's exactly what Seleni did. Yeah, I hope he isn't dead or anything in the shark tank. He's doing the shark thing, yeah. So, but
I said
anyway.
in shark.
Well said, you're on rare form today. I think we better end the program now. Right, okay, so that's enough, yeah? That was the Obsidian Reflector. I'm Aston Walker.
I'm Joshua John.
And we'll catch you next week. Peace out, yeah? FM, with the help of a press record. Start again. New Star Radio 98.7 FM. This is your weekly Obsidian Reflector, where each week, as I contribute to my world record attempt, 2 world record attempts, for the world's first AI sci-fi feature film movie. Well, should be a round of applause, but never mind. And the second attempt is for the first sci-fi series, live streamed simultaneously on New Star Radio and Ofcom approved, we have to put that in, Ofcom approved community radio station, and Simon Cowell, no less, Lounges TV. So each week I fuel the potential series with my sort of wanderings around the multimedia, streaming, TikTok, social media world. Yeah, so that's what we do here each and every Friday. We're normally joined by various guests, you know. But interestingly, okay, so I've just had a wonderful dinner over in Harborne, St John's, Harborne, and there was a lovely chap named Brian. Big up Brian and Wally and all the crew. And you know, sort of when you're talking to people who you don't know, you're like, you know, you're trying to read energies and so on and so forth. Anyway, this particular conversation, the chap was talking about, you know, what do you do? Talk to me, of course. What do you do? And I said, you know, just train and, you know, try and maintain mind, body and soul and so on and so forth. And then he went on to talk about his grandkids, how, you know, he doesn't know how to fight and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, that's a strange thing to say, you know what I mean? You got to look after yourself, geezer. And, you know, I just didn't think much of it. I thought, well, this is just a weird conversation, yeah? He's like, this guy's just telling me about how weak he is. Next thing you know, he said, well, I did swim 50 lengths. I made some sort of comment. And he took umbrage, like, you know, I'm not weak, you know, I'll defend myself. And I said, well, there you go. And he said, well, I did swim 40 lengths. I was like, what? You swam 40 lengths? Like, you know, there's me. I could barely do one, yeah? After, you know, the initial conversation. Then he told me, you know, he had a heart attack and he didn't even know. And then proceeded to talk about certain ailments in a very sort of objective, you know, way, in a sense, objective in the sense of the tone and the cadence and so on and so forth. Obviously, he experienced it. But I just saw him in a whole different light. He became Superman. Yeah, and he's 72, by the way. He doesn't look it. He probably looked about late 50s. Yeah, but amazing. And it just goes to show, you know, never judge a book by its cover. Anyway, New Star Radio 98.7 FM. This is the Obsidian Reflector Show. And here we have the most awesome, just trying to find his name, Valdez. Let's just call him Valdez. He does great motivation. We're playing a lot of his stuff throughout the show.
Couldn't have gone any worse for them. When I say they underestimated you, Chosen, they underestimated you to the fifth power times 10. They are embarrassed. You didn't embarrass them. They are embarrassed by the sheer number of people that is taken to attack you. They didn't plan for this. They had no idea that you were a one-man army. They had no idea how coherent you were, how cognitive you were, how instinctive you were, how natural you were, how gifted you were, how aware you were, how knowledgeable you were, how spiritual you were, how strong you were, how enduring you were. They had no idea. They underestimated you to the fifth power, times 10. But I can guarantee you, if they had a chance to do it all over, they wouldn't do it again.
New Star Radio, 98.7 FM. Yeah, good. So a bit of motivational there, getting my words out there, getting excited really. Right, good. So this is going to be an interesting. Oh, just to skirt through geopolitics. So Musk and Trump are having a to and fro, they're having a lovers' tiff, you know, with nuclear weapons, of course, and CIA mischief in Syria. And, you know, ISIS is in control of Syria now. A place I visited in 96. 96. Yeah, 96. And they've had a big lovers' tiff, you know. Musk is saying that Trump is in the Epstein documents and so on and so forth. And Trump is saying, oh, he's just bitter. He's just a bitter ex-employee and all, you know, the usual capitalistic guff. And, you know, isn't it fascinating? And then you've got the likes of Kanye and Joe Rogan talking about how, you know, this is bad for America. Oh, please make up. You're making us look bad because as I said, I always relate this to Sunni Shia polemics, if you will. And which will be the main thrust of this particular broadcast. You know, Sunni Shia, because you've got a choice for those who are not in the know. You've got Sunni Islam, which is the Saqifa, Abu Bakr, Umar, Aisha, may Allah curse them, axis. Other scholarly opinions are available, of course, I have to say that, Ofcom rules. And then you have the Shia of Ali, who is Allah's caliph, who Allah ordered the Prophet, peace be upon him, I believe the reference, Quran 5:26, the completion of the religion. And Ali was the Mawla, is the successor. Whereas Abu Bakr and Umar and Aisha disobeyed the Prophet, disobeyed Allah, angered the Prophet, called the Prophet delirious, fought the Prophet's cousin, Ali. And just using akal, intelligence, free choice. Allah gives every human being free choice. And then you have the bullying and the Satanism of oppression of Ahlul Bayt. The Prophet left two weighty things: his Itra, Ahlul Bayt, his family, and the Quran. And then we get into, let's fast forward. In fact, let's get into the crux of it really. Then we get into the actual satanic mess that we're in, where we've got Sunni MPs and members of the military and the police force, business sector, of course, Pakistani, mainly of origin, Indian subcontinent, if you will, and, you know, Iranian, Yemeni, Arabs, and, you know, the whole kit and caboodle. Barristers, King's Counsel,